Are you my mother? Bored? Hello, and welcome to another episode of 5 Minutes with Franza. In this episode, I'm going to be talking to you about the motherboard. So this is going to be Motherboards 101. And just so that you can understand what motherboard does, how it does it, first things first is our motherboard is the way that we connect everything together. And the way that everything is connected is via the bus. The bus is how information travels from the different expansion slots to the RAM, our primary storage, to our CPU, our processing, and to our secondary storage. The motherboard also has a chipset that helps to control all of that. The chipset helps us to determine how much RAM we could have, how many expansion ports we can have, what they can do, the adapters as far as getting data into and out of the system. Our motherboard also has something called a BIOS, B-I-O-S, Basic Input Output System. BIOS is stored on something called firmware. Firmware is neither hardware nor software. It's something in between. And we can do what's called flashing the BIOS. I will do a separate video on that. BIOS is what tells the computer how to start up. So for the most part, it really doesn't need to be touched, because if your computer knows how to boot, it knows how to boot and you're good. However, let's pretend you are installing brand new hardware, which is relatively new and didn't exist when you got your motherboard. There could be a BIOS upgrade that will make it so it could recognize it. When this motherboard first came out, the CPU that I had in it was the max CPU that this motherboard could take. They then later came out with a BIOS upgrade, right, that would actually allow you to put even better CPUs into this motherboard. Your BIOS has a clock on it, and it keeps to keep the current time and date. This usually lasts about 4 to 5 years. But if you have an older computer and you notice that every time you turn it on, it doesn't remember the date, it's going back to like 1990 or something like that, guess what? This little coin cell battery is dead. You can actually pop it out and get a new one. You'll set your clock, your system clock once, and it'll be good forever. Remember, we talked about the 4 basic components of our system. We have input, output, processing, and storage. So for input and output, we have these PCI expansion slots. Let me just spin this around for you. Okay, these I could put in graphics cards. This is a little PCI Express, a mini slot. In theory, I could plug in something like additional USB 3.0 ports, except of course, slightly odd design. I can't do it because he's got a little hiney and this heatsink gets in the way. However, I could plug this into here. So this is compatible with all of these. This motherboard, as you'll see, does not have a graphics card built into it. These are all labeled, so they tell you what types they are. Because this motherboard would allow me to hold multiple graphics cards, I could actually connect them. NVIDIA offered something called SLI, and you would plug the graphics cards in, and then there's a little bridging cable that you would plug on the top, and now the graphics cards work together to give you even better performance. For input and output, looking at this one, and again, with any computer, if you're looking to buy a new computer or you're looking to upgrade motherboard, look at how many expansion slots are on there, right? What can I hold? Also, what does it have that I can connect through the back? So an example, this one has FireWire. It has 6 USB ports. These are USB 2.0, 2 USB 3.0 ports, 2 network card interface, 2 NIC interfaces, and then this is for my sound. So the sound card on here supports surround sound, plus it has a microphone. So this is the way I can get information into my system and out of my system. Also on my motherboard, you'll see right here, these are connectors that connect to the front of the computer. So I could have 2 USB 3.0 connectors on the front of my system, 4 USB 2.0, and even a FireWire on the front of my computer. So that is my input and output for my system. For my processing, that's the CPU. For a CPU, understand that every motherboard is made for a specific CPU chip, but the catch is that you can't take an Intel CPU and put it into a motherboard that was made for an AMD CPU. And you can't take an AMD CPU and try to put it into a motherboard that was made for an Intel CPU because they're different sockets. It won't fit. Just because this motherboard is made for Intel CPUs doesn't mean I can just put any i3, i5, or i7 into it. Your motherboard manual will tell you what type of CPU your system can take. Last but not least is our storage. Remember, our storage, there are two types. We have primary and we have secondary. And on this motherboard, I have 3 different connectors. These are all serial ATA or SATA, S-A-T-A. Red versus black, 6 gigabit a second throughput, 3 gigabit per second throughput. And that would be my secondary storage. Last but not least is power. Your motherboard needs power to run. We'll do a separate video on power supplies, but just so you know, here's my connector for my power supply. I also have a connector over here. There you have it. Okay, I hope you found this episode of 5 Minutes with Franza useful. If you have any questions about motherboards, please leave them in the comments below. If you like the video, give me that thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe so you get the latest videos as soon as they come out. And thank you for watching 5 Minutes with Franza. Ready, Oreo? Catch.